Hey traders, Jason here from Levitt Brothers. So I'm going to step outside my lane in this video and talk about baseball, or specifically I'm going to talk about black players in baseball. So in honor of that, I'm donning my Ted Williams jersey. So the World Series is underway, and one of the hot topics is the lack of black players in the World Series, or should I say the complete absence of black players, because there are none. Jackie Robinson broke into the major leagues in 1947. And since 1950, there has always been at least one black player in the World Series until this year. So is this a random, meaningless coincidence that is being made into a hot topic for like woke political correctness reasons, or is there something else here? It's actually not a coincidence because the percentage of black players has dropped from about 18% to about 7% over the last 30 years. So with only 7% of the players being black, there's a chance that none will be playing in the World Series. So let's take a deep dive. At the very least, it's a launching point to continue the conversation that is currently going on out there in the baseball community. So before I start, I'll just say that I'm not advocating for more blacks in baseball. I don't really care. I don't think the following numbers are an issue. The reason is because there are only so many teams and there are only so many players per team. It's fixed, okay? So if you're gonna argue that there should be more blacks, then honestly, screw you, because then you're indirectly saying there should be less of something else. There should be less Latinos, less Asians, less of some other group. So I'm not interested in going down that route. I just wanna briefly dig into this as a curiosity. So my first thought, or my first hunch, had to do with accessibility as far as explaining why there's a decrease in the number of blacks in baseball. So in Chicago, where I'm originally from, only about 35% of the high schools have a baseball team. So I was thinking proportionally, if blacks live in cities and cities lack baseball programs, that of course would influence the number of black kids who play baseball. Who knows, maybe baseball is just a suburban sport, but this logic doesn't hold up for two reasons. One, football also requires a lot of land and is therefore nearly just as scarce in Chicago as baseball. And as we know, there's no shortage of blacks in the NFL. Two, blacks don't just live in cities, okay? Just as many blacks live in suburban areas as in densely populated cities, so it's not a question of accessibilities. So what else could be the reason? After all, both NFL and NBA are predominantly black. Why the shortage in baseball, and why are the numbers declining? So in my opinion, just my opinion, it has to do with a trickle-down effect of college scholarships or the lack thereof. Okay, if you're a great high school athlete, the type of athlete that can play Division I sport in pretty much anything you wanted, the availability of scholarships probably influence what you would pursue. Full ride scholarships in football are readily available. Same thing with basketball, but not so much in baseball. Universities get 11.7 full ride scholarships, which are then broken into smaller pieces for upwards of 30 players. So scholarships in baseball are fractions. You may get a quarter, or you might get a third. So if you're a great athlete who can get a full ride in football or basketball, but maybe only a 25% scholarship in baseball, you probably aren't going to pick baseball unless you think you're the next Ken Griffey Jr. And then there's the part about making it into the pros. Half of the first round picks in baseball never make it to the major leagues, let alone establishing themselves. But in football and basketball, you're pretty much guaranteed to stick around for at least a couple years if you're a high draft pick. So if I'm right that the difficulty in making it to the pros and the lack of college scholarship money motivates great black athletes to choose basketball or football instead of baseball, the next question is, can and should something be done about this, okay? So we can't change the odds of making it in the pros. You have to earn it. But the college scholarship system can be changed or slightly altered. So hear me out a second. So Major League Baseball talks a lot about like outreach programs to get more kids into the game. But what good does that do if there's a severe lack of scholarship money available? So let me explain. The NCAA wants men's and women's sports to be equal, meaning equal number of scholarships available. The problem for men is football takes so many scholarships, and they should because they make so much money. There's a lot less left over for men's sports versus women's sports. So if the pots of scholarship money for men and women are the same, and football takes a huge chunk of the men's pot, there's less left over for everything else. For example, in basketball, women get 15 scholarships. Men's programs only get 13. In gymnastics, women get 12 scholarships. Men, there are only 6.3 available. In soccer, there are 14 women's scholarships available, but the men only have 10. In swimming, there are also 14 scholarships available for women, but men only get 10 there too. It's everywhere. In track and field and cross country, women have 18 scholarships, men only get 12.6. The presence of football takes scholarships away from all other men's sports. Women's rowing gets 20 scholarships. Men's baseball only gets 11.7. So to me, here's the fix. In most cases, since the football program and men's basketball make all the money that pay for all the other sports, and I know there in a few cases, there are a few schools where women's basketball does well, but that's the exception, not the rule. Why not separate football and men's basketball into a different category and then make the two pots of scholarship money equal for men and women? This to me makes the most sense and is most fair. Take the two sports that pay all the bills and separate them out. Then make everything equal. Why should men's sports suffer just because football takes 40% of the pot? Okay? And if anyone complains, to me, too freaking bad. Your sport doesn't make any money anyways, so why should you be getting a scholarship? Okay, so back to baseball. If this took place, the pot of scholarship money available to men's baseball would be bigger, more scholarships would be available, and perhaps that great black high school athlete would pick baseball instead of football or basketball. This is my solution. This is just my opinion. But if we want to know the real answer, if we want to know why the number of blacks in baseball has been declining, we should just ask. Okay, I'm not a journalist. And I don't work for a big sports media company. Perhaps someone who does can simply send out an email to all football and basketball players that play professionally in the NBA, in the NFL, and ask, why did you choose your sport? Why didn't you play baseball? Some guys will respond, hey, I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. I'm not going to play baseball. Fine, I get it. But we'll still get a lot of good answers, and those answers would tell us more than the talking heads currently debating the issue on TV.